A good follow is an active follow. She responds. Hi everyone, it's Tasleem, and I realized that I left a video about a good lead. And I did touch upon what I feel also makes a good follow. But I wanted to do a whole other video on it because I don't want it to sound at all like I am only putting the responsibility on the lead. The follow definitely has a big part to play, and actually that's a huge part of how I want to define a follow. It's interesting that it's called a follow because when we think of following something or someone, it sounds like a little puppy dog. You're just, doing whatever the person says, and you're just like blindly going with whatever. And in some cases, there's this idea that you're being strung along, like you're just being pulled into movements, if it's dancing or in life and relationships, that you're just not thinking for yourself and you're just doing whatever that person tells you to do. And for me, this is actually so far from the truth of what makes a good follow, first of all, in dancing, and how I'm going to relate this in what I think, how that connects to what makes a good follow in life, in relationships. And just for the sake of this video, when I say follow, I understand that there could be a male or female follow or lead. And I'm just for this video going to refer to like the follow as like the more feminine energy person, and then the lead as the more masculine energy. But as I've said in other videos, we all have masculine and feminine. And like I said, I understand that a lead doesn't have to be a male and a follow doesn't have to be a female, but I'm just going to refer to it that way in this video to make things a lot easier. So getting back to what I was saying, a good follow. So a good follow is not just blindly just like, being strung along and yanked here and there on the dance floor. And like I've seen females come to dance as a follow and they expect leads to do everything for them. And I hate it when follows say, well, I could be a good follow if I had a good lead. Like I could be a good dancer if I just had a good lead. And I'm like, okay, to me that very clearly tells me this person does not understand the dynamic of following. Because one of the first things I want to say about being a follow is that a good follow is responsive. They respond to the lead. They don't just expect the lead to do everything for them. The second thing is a good follow is an active follow. That means that they actually are present and their response is not just a knee-jerk reaction. It's actually responding like, oh, I felt that invitation, or I felt that that guidance to go here or there. So I'm going to decide how I'm going to get there. Like maybe it's the texture that they use. Maybe it's an embellishment. Maybe it's just how much energy they put into it. And as far as their, I don't mean pushing or that kind of energy, like to go faster than the lead is trying to lead them through. But I mean their energy of like, I'm alive here. I'm taking part in this dance as well. So I'm going to respond and be active in it. It's very, very relatable to relationships. Like I've heard of people's relationships just break down because some women can sometimes feel like, okay, they want their man to take care of this and that and take care of everything. And then they expect as a female just to have everything done for them. Or when the man in their life is doing amazing things, like trying to fix things or trying to plan dates or, take his woman out or whatever, the woman ends up complaining like, oh, you didn't do this right, or you you know, we didn't like, or just not thanking him. Like, that's part of being responsive, like, is being appreciative of what the lead is doing, whether it's a lead in dancing or a lead in life, in relationships. And in dancing, how you can show that is that your response, the way that your energy feeds off of the lead, gives him energy and makes him feel like, oh yeah, okay, I'm doing the right thing, so I'm going to keep doing it, and she's enjoying it. And if you smile in relationships and on the dance floor when your lead is doing something that makes you feel good, that is like, it is a turn on in the dance and in life. Like, it makes the lead feel like he's doing his part and he's being appreciated. And I feel like that can easily be translated into dance. Like, I know that there's times when leads are really being protective of their follow, and they're making sure of like what level they're at, and guiding her at the level that she's at. And sometimes follows will, like, they won't smile or they won't show appreciation for that, and they even like almost expect more, or like I said earlier, that they think, oh well, this person, I would be a better dancer if they did more. But actually, that brings me to my next point about what makes a good follow. A good follow actually is someone that takes care of their own body, their own centeredness, their own groundedness. A good follow should be practicing their steps by themselves and be able to do those steps without a lead. And regardless of who the lead is or how he dances, a good follow should take responsibility for her own centeredness, for her own dancing. Like, it's not, I don't say, oh, I would be a better follow if I danced with that lead. If I am saying that, then I need to work on something in my following. Because regardless of if I'm dancing with someone who's just starting or someone at a higher level, or I still have a huge responsibility to practice my steps and to be able to do them without my lead. We're not leaning on our leads literally with our body. Like, we are holding our own grounding, and our lead shouldn't have to take on our extra weight and our extra effort and have to drag us around, because that makes life so much harder for the lead. And it can be painful. Like, sometimes we think, oh, the leads are like these men and they can handle it. And then we complain when like someone does a little thing that might hurt us. But actually the leads can get hurt. Like, I've heard of leads who women have, when a lead has spun a woman, like he's just using his fingers to spin the woman, and she might grab onto the fingers or the hand too tightly and put too much weight on them. And I've heard of people like spraining their fingers and hurting their hands. And there's like this stigma if a guy complains about that, but actually it is our responsibility to hold our own weight. So that brings me to another thing. A good follow is light in her following. I have shared in previous videos that an instructor once told me, like, I haven't changed my weight much in the past few years, but like I'm 100 and I say 111 pounds because it's the angel number, but I am like 110, 111 pounds. And even back then when I was still around that same size, like instructor told me that when he's leading me, it feels like he's leading a 300-pound woman. Now, obviously he was exaggerating. And like I said in my other video, this has nothing to do with larger people. But his point was that I'm putting way more weight into my body, the way that I'm dancing and the way that I'm showing up, than I actually have on my body. And he's having to take on that weight. So he has to do twice or 3 times as much work to get me around on different moves. And I should be getting myself around. So a good follow makes herself lighter by being centered, by using her core, by moving from the center of her body, and also not putting the stress and strain in her arms and tightening the frame. It should actually be coming from her body movement. Another thing that I want to say, like in terms of that and life, this also translates into life. Like sometimes women will say that men are like not doing enough, or they don't trust that a man is going to complete a task the way that we might want them to. So instead of being responsive and requesting and communicating what it is that we need, we decide, okay, they're not doing it right, so I'm going to have to do it all. So we end up like putting that weight onto ourselves. Like we put more weight, more stress and stuff on us because we have not communicated to a guy that like actually it would really help if you took on this, or this is a little bit hard for me, or but instead we try to do everything. And I feel like that reminds me of this, like when we are too heavy in our dancing, it's like we don't trust that a guy can lead us. We don't trust that a light lead can lead us, and we don't trust that our light following can get us around. So we put so much effort and so much force into it instead of just allowing the momentum of it to like move us around, instead of taking it all as stress in our bodies. So that's another thing that I want to say about a good follow, is that a good follow uses a momentum. So like there are different like beginnings to moves, like preps is the word that I was wanting to say. And leads know how to, like the leads that know how to prep for a move, they do it for a purpose, to help us get around, to help us get more momentum, and to use that. But a good follow makes use of that. So she doesn't like stop and start the momentum. Because once the momentum has started with the lead, because he knows what he's doing, we should be continuing it and using it, and as leverage, like it becomes our leverage, so we don't have to restart the whole thing. We don't. And again, that comes down to like us trusting ourselves and trusting the lead. When he initiates a movement, that we go with it. So a good follow continues that motion, continues the leverage, continues the momentum, and that makes the dynamic flow. And again, that is in dancing as well as in life. Like if we in life, if we're actually like using how a lead or a male shows up for us, and we're appreciating it, and we're feeding off of it, and instead of questioning how he's doing something, we actually say thank you and realize like that's part of his role and we have our role, and we can take that to help us continue our feminine role in the lead follow polarity. Like I've spoken in a previous video about polarity. That polarity is really important. The polarity means that the more masculine lead, in this case, I'm using that as like my description, and the more feminine follow, there's a polarity between them. And so the feminine has to trust and allow the lead to do the guiding, and the lead makes sure that he's the frame and he's the protector and he knows how to guide, and he's not pulling and pushing. He's using his own body to make the follow feel comfortable. And that's the same in life. But if the feminine starts crossing that boundary and saying, actually, I'm going to take over and I'm going to lead. So this feminine starts taking over and starts leading and starts moving into this way. And then the lead doesn't know his part anymore because she's taking his part. There's no polarity. And then that beautiful, passionate, fun, like energy between the two, there's no energy anymore because there's not enough space for it. And it's the same in life. Like I feel like when in life, when you know, us as females, I know I've done it, so I'm not even I'm not like pointing fingers at other people. I know it because I've done it, where I didn't trust that someone could take care of something, or maybe I didn't like the way that they planned something, so then I started doing it. And then that person, that guy was like, well, what's my role? Like he kind of felt like he was not appreciated. I remember like, you know, times where I didn't speak out about what I wanted in terms of a date, like what I was comfortable with for a date. And because I didn't speak out, the person that was taking me out on a date and, you know, doing a good job of like planning things, felt not appreciated. And then I started planning them, and then he just felt like, what is my purpose here? And now that I look back, I realize like that was my problem. I wasn't trusting. I wasn't saying like, this actually doesn't make me feel good. And I was breaking that lead follow kind of dynamic. And when it breaks down pretty badly, to the point where it just doesn't work, and that relationship or that connection gets broken. And I feel like that can happen a lot on the dance floor. So I started this video by saying, like, for me, one of the biggest parts of a follow is that she's responsive and that she's active. And I'd like to just end on that reminder again, that like a follow does not mean that you just sit back and don't do anything and then the lead has all the responsibility. Following actually has its own part. And when you embrace your part in it, it becomes a really fun dance, whether it's on the dance floor, literally, or if it's in life, on the dance floor of life. And I just wanted to share that again because I already had a video about the leads, and I just wanted to say thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all soon.